Hey. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I am so glad y'all are here. I don't have a whole bunch of time this morning, so I ain't going to keep you. When I think about what it looks like to be oppressed, all you want is to make the oppression stop. However, when you are the one who are oppressing somebody, what you want is for them to shut up. And recently, I was noticing that I had a little pain in my chest. And every time I have pain in my chest, it's because I am having an anxiety attack. It's hard for me to say that, but what I'm learning is other people can't stop shaking their leg. The palms can't stop sweating. They feel anxiousness in their stomach's upset. We walking around here just anxious. And one of the ways that I used to like release what I was feeling when I was being oppressed was that I would cuss people out. And if you was putting your foot on my neck, if you had the elephant in the room and it felt like it was sitting on my chest, you was gonna was gonna whip you with the word. And interestingly enough, I came up under a pastor who would use the Bible even to whip you with the word. So I didn't feel no way about it. But as I've been working on this empathy revolution, as I have been evolving spiritually, as I do things like 31 days of kindness, what I come to understand is that I have now overvalued emotional regulation. And to a point where now what we have is death by decorum. I was sitting in a meeting last night, and the people who were running the meeting were on some absolute BS. Everything they had to say was BS. Were they correcting an issue? Yeah. But the entire process needed to be revamped because what they had told people was wrong, how they had implemented things were wrong, and the outcome was not what the general body wanted. And you know what? When asked if they wanted to have any, if anybody had any questions, you know what happened? Not a singular person said anything. I ain't gonna be with you long because I got somewhere to be. But let me tell you this: if you had 100 people in a room, that represents the United States. 99 of those people are paying 30% of their money to taxes. That one person left represents not the richest US citizens. Let's say it represents folks who don't work, can't work, and the richest US citizens. We pay that 30% so that we can get public education, so that we can get public transportation, so that our waterways are maintained, so that people can't use greed to abuse us. We pay that 30% so that our airways are safe, that we ain't gonna have folks falling out the sky. We pay that 30% so we can get a service, a quality service. Okay, that's what we pay it for. And so, what I am shocked by is that people think that 99% of us are paying 30%. And when the people we pay the service to decide they just ain't going to do the service anymore, like this week, the Department of Education, not the Secretary of Education, came and told us that they dismantling Department of Education. The White House correspondence person came to tell us that they're dismantling the Department of Education. Okay. Not the Secretary of Education with her background in wrestling. She ain't come tell us nothing. Okay. Our insurance is about to go up. The price of food is up. Tariffs are still impacting people's day-to-day lives in terms of increased funding, increased costs. And what I am shocked by is that people are like, well, these nonprofits and the churches are just going to have to pick up the slack. How many churches you think there are in the United States? I don't know. 500,000, maybe. What do you think the average size of the churches are in the United States? It's about 50 members. Of those 50 members, how many of you think actually contribute financially to their church institution? Got 50 members. I would say it's probably 10 people that are contributing financially to that church. And if that church has a building, then they got to pay for the building. They got to pay for lights, gas, water. They got to pay musicians. They got to pay taxes. They got to pay. Don't say they don't pay taxes, because they do on everything that they buy for that institution. They got to pay the people who are taking care of the grounds. And now you think that 500,000 institutions that on average size is 50 means some people talking about they pastors and they got 2 members. Somehow you think that's going to make up for the 99 people out of that 100 who pay into this system, and yet we can't get good service. And we paying 30% into this system and can't get good service. Meanwhile, that one who ain't hardly paying nothing in terms of percentage of wealth, that one, they deciding that, do away with the Department of Education. Don't worry about the National Institute of Health. And it is oppressive. And to the oppressive people, the ones who are oppressing, the ones who got their foot on your neck, what they depending on is your silence. That's what they depending on. That's what they depending on. And last night in that meeting, guess who was silent? You know why? Because somehow I have been convinced that emotional regulation is greater than anything else. And I'm like, to what end? To what end? We are already number 1 in the world for incarcerating our citizens. And we running around from city to city, DC, Birmingham, Kansas City, Portland, Charlotte, North Carolina, grabbing people off the street so we can put them in jail. We already number 1 in incarcerating our citizens. And so I think about how in my work, I teach and help people learn the difference between what does it look like to have healthy conflict versus false harmony. And right now we have, I have never seen false harmony speak so loudly in my life. The number of preachers who are saying things like, don't worry about it. God will take care. And I'm like, I disagree, and here's why. We pay into this system so that we can get serviced by this system. Next week, folks, in that upper, the 50%, the 50 people, if we're looking at 100 people, the 50 people who have the most in our country are going to buy way more food than they can use, way more food than they can eat. We're going to have Friendsgiving celebrations where everybody going to bring food, and at the end, you can't give it away, and folks going to be throwing it away. The Monday after Thanksgiving, folks going to be throwing the food away. And when they throw that food away, all I want you to think about is that there is a small conglomerate of our population who does not have the food to eat. And if you thinking it's people who just ain't worked hard enough, ain't done enough, I want you to do an empathy walk. I want you to read Viola Davis's memoir. And I want you to read what it has been like for her to just be in abject poverty and not have enough. Because what we think, I don't know if it's a math problem, if we're enumerate. I don't know what the problem is, but I can tell you the opposite of hate is not love. It is, I do not care. I am sitting in a state of apathy, and that apathy and indifference, and me just, let me just practice my mindful meditations and don't worry about myself about what's going on in the world. Meanwhile, we are paying for a service. 30% of what we have. We go out to eat. You paying 10% on your food. You paying 10% at the store for products. You paying 30% on income for these people to provide free and affordable access to education. I know we ain't got it, but we are paying so that we can have free and affordable access to healthcare. And I don't care what nobody say. It don't make no sense that my entire body is not covered by healthcare. Why is it that everything from the neck up ain't covered? Mental health services, my vision, my dental. What are we talking about here? And meanwhile, the people with the most power are standing in pulpits and on platforms going, don't you worry yourselves. It is okay. No, it is not. It is not okay. And if by chance you think nonprofits, you think food banks going to be able to close this gap, every single last one of us, 30 something million people, are paying 30% of our income so that we can, part of that is so that we can feed the lowliest among us, those who need. That's what we do it for. So to believe that nonprofits are going to be able to close that gap, who giving these billions of dollars to be able to feed people? We give the government billions of dollars. You know why? So that they can serve the people. That's why we give it to them. And then they try to convince us that they're doing us a favor, that they're doing us a favor. Somehow doing us, they think they're doing us a favor. They are not. We are paying for a service. And when you pay for a service, you expect good quality and you expect efficiency. I have become unglued at how much we want to talk about conflict resolution. I'm going to a meeting here in a minute. They're going to teach me about conflict resolution, and it's exceptional. But what we forget when we are talking about conflict resolution is how dangerous conflict avoidance is, how dangerous it is to be silent in the face of these atrocities. You know, Bell Hooks, when she was 19 years old, wrote about what is it like to the body where your race, where your gender is so visible, and people are trying to tell you that if you focus on the gender thing, then you are ignoring or hurting the race thing, and if you focus on the race thing, that you're ignoring and hurting the gender thing, when you are both. And Michelle Alexander talked about the intersection of both of these things. When I walk through the world, I have become politicized. Somebody has said to me that if I talk about the fact that my actual race and my actual gender, that I am being political. Y'all, peace to the folks who are being oppressed is to stop the oppression. But peace to the people who are engaging in outright oppression and unfairness and injustice is that we would be silent and do absolutely nothing about it. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.